Okay guys, it's time to start talking about the mixing of color. Obviously we have been working on top of monochromatics and dichromatics or duochromatics or whatever you want to call them, looking at ways of putting color on top of color, on top of a value structure. Now we want to break our color understanding down a little bit more. We've got a couple of things to do. We're going to start with the idea of mixing color using one, two, or maybe three colors mixed together to get what we were looking for. We've already tried it with some complementary color, and we've seen how that can work to create neutrals, and how we can use different kinds of neutrals to create the beginnings of a painting. And we also have learned a little bit about putting color on top of those neutrals. But tonight, we want to really take a look at the main ideas about what color, how color is put together and how we understand color.
Now, color sometimes feels like a mystery to us because it's like, how do I make it do what I want it to do? So color is not a mystery. We've been using it our entire lives. We just don't know how to make it do what we want it to do. But I'm gonna do this. If I'm mixing paint, okay? We need to know that there are different things that these do. I can talk to you about color, and there's only three things I need to talk to you about. Hue, value, and I'm going to use a word that most of you don't use, chroma, but I could say intensity, but that one can be confusing with some other ideas that are out there. Saturation. Dye folks do. That's what they're going to pay attention to. Like, if your sweater, your outer sweater, is kind of like my sweater, it's got a gray, it's an olive color, but yours is really, really light. Yours has a low, it's light, but that's not saturation. But watch this. Yours, if they use the same dye for both of our pieces of clothing, we would say that yes, that is lighter, mine is darker value, lighter and darker value. But they'd also might say that has a lower saturation. There's less of the dye on that fabric than there is on this fabric. Does that make sense?
But isn't that the thing with value also?
That
There's
is
more color in.
Yes, but I can make a color that is a light value and have a high saturation, but it'd be very pale in color, in its value. When we're doing watercolor, it's very much like saturation, that they're very similar, but I can make a blue color that is a very light blue. And I can make a very high saturation of that color, and it's still going to stay light blue.
How do you do that?
I can show you, but I can't do the words because I'll be spending the next 16 minutes talking about it. I'll show you, okay? But I promise. I'll make it go the other way. I'll make it fast. That is not a dark value color. It is a middle value color, but it is a high intensity color. There it is at thinned out, it's lighter, but even then it's still a pretty high intensity color. The word for intensity would have to do this. Does it look gray? That's where you go with it. Both of our sweaters, they're using a gray olive. Yours is a lighter gray olive, and they may use less of it, okay? So it makes, effectively, it looks like it's both lighter, but it might be, I don't know. We've not seen we don't know those vat patches. We don't know what the color number was, but I'm suspecting that it might have been a color that doesn't get much darker than that. But I don't know. We'll see that later. Okay. So intensity and saturation. Another word that I really hate to use in this one is purity. So what I'm going to suggest is, not that these are bad words, but let's stay away from these because they can be more confusing than these three right here. They're significantly different. Now, these are the color qualities that we need to be aware of, and then paint has different qualities.
So wait, can you repeat about you?
Hue is very simple. He's a guy that, no, English rom-com, no, that's a different, that's, hue, first way it is, color family. Is it a red or is it a blue? Is it a red or is it a blue? What particular red is it? That would be the two things. It's like ultramarine blue or cobalt blue. Those are, blue is the big family name, and then it's got a specific name for individual ones. Now there's thousands of colors that have no names, except names like periwinkle blue. Periwinkle is not blue.
Violet twist.
Cornflower blue. Cornflower blue might be periwinkle because that's a purpley blue. But it's, then which one is it? Is it a purple or is it, I don't know. It fits somewhere in that range of blue to purple, but it'll have a specific name. But it won't be periwinkle and it won't be cornflower. Those are not names for colors. I tend to go with just simply where does it fit on the blue to violet scale and how light or dark is it, and how intense or chromatically pure is it? Does that make more sense? Okay, now, over here, is it transparent? Is it opaque? What about the things between those two? Translucent, pearlescent, I get all those things. Okay, is it staining? Meaning, will it stain my fabric? If the color doesn't wash out, it must be staining the fabric. If it washes off, it is transient. It will fall apart. It's what that is usually it's called sedimentary. It's just sitting on the surface. If you take a watercolor and you throw a lot of water on it, a lot of the paint's going to come off. That's sedimentary color. It just comes off. 385 years later, you take a washcloth to your painting that your great-great-great-great-grandchildren are like so happy to have, and then somebody takes a washcloth to it. Oops, we didn't know that Granddad's painting, great-great-great-great-grandpa's painting was going to go away. It's gone. Dirty paper. Okay. Then there's other things that happens. Some of them get crystalline, or they call it granulating. Thank you. My brain just was drawing a blank. Granulating. Or it might be flat or smooth. Now, there's a couple of more. Okay? This is all you got here. You got 5 or 6 of these. Now, here's what I would tell you. There's a set of words out there that I've heard multiple times. One of my favorite artists of the local area says this. I will not tell you this artist's name. I like this artist a lot. I value their paintings quite a bit. I value their teaching quite a lot. But this particular artist says, in most paintings, value does all the work, and color gets all the glory. I would only say one thing to that artist. No, I'm going to back off of that. I will simply say, try telling that to a guy named Henri Matisse. Try telling that to Piero della Francesca from the 1400s. Try telling that to Raoul Dufay. Try telling that to a guy named Vincent, as in, yes, Van Gogh. He understood dark, but what he really understood was hue, value, and intensity, and he used that completely. And what I would tell you is, what the problem is for most art teachers talking about color, they can't, it's harder to teach color than it is to teach one thing. This is easy, light and dark. And light and dark is a really powerful tool. You saw that with underpainting, the idea that a powerful dark and light, you got 90% of your work done. Unless you really want to do the same work with color. Because Matisse could take a light blue and put it on the dark side of something and make you believe it was the shadow. Even though the red on the light side was darker, but you look at that and go, yes, I see the shadow. And you're like, how did he do that? Because he was really, really smart about color. And because he knew all these other things about color. So when somebody tells you that, don't tell them they're wrong. Just tell them they have a limited vocabulary and understanding of how to teach color to themselves and others. I never will say that in front of them. You cannot say.
We didn't hear
You can say it. If that particular artist hears that, they'll know who said it, because I think they've heard me say it at least once. So, what I want to do right away is this: hue, value, and chroma. Let's do this one time, really quick. Here is a color straight off my palette. It is one pigment, okay? And here it is, pretty full strength over here. Make sense? It's color. Certainly getting lighter in value. The effect is less intense, but let's not use the word intensity. The chroma hasn't actually changed. Its purity has not changed. It's just darker versus lighter. Okay?
Is this chroma getting less?
What?
Is the chroma getting less?
No, it's not. It's the chroma is the same. It's that its intensity has not changed, and its purity of that color. It's not getting grayer.
Right.
It is getting lighter.
And that's why I would think intensity would be getting less.
See, that's why if we use the word intensity, we get in trouble, because are we talking about light intensity, or are we talking about color intensity?
Light intensity.
Light intensity would be value intensity as opposed to chroma intensity. So that's why intensity is a bad choice.
Yeah. Intensity.
In that particular case, purity might be a better choice. Okay?
Well, I guess intensity could be more concentration.
Higher concentration of the pigment, or higher concentration. Yes, it is getting lighter. That's no question. It's darker, it's lighter.
So
But
the chroma's not changing.
the chroma is not changing.
Okay.
Because have I mixed anything else with it?
No, but you put less on.
That just means it's lighter. It's less of it. But watch this. I'm going to now. You want me to change it? You want to change?
That's why I think it's
Let me show.
That's why I think
Let me change the intensity of this color.
Okay.
Watch this. Let me change the intensity of the color. In fact, I'm making it darker, aren't I? I'm making it darker. So that much means it's, in terms of light, it's not as intense in terms of value. But watch what happens when I start to add some kind of gray.
So with the word muted, kind of,
That,
Well,
like the word muted would relate to chroma.
yeah. It's the idea that you are now what I made it intentionally darker so you can see that, but now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, do you see how this is a less intense green?
Mm-hmm.
Its hue, the chroma is getting duller. All I've added is a gray. I haven't changed the color so much. I have changed the color, but I'm making it duller, less intense, less pure, less saturated. Now this is less physically saturated, but in terms of its color, it's the same saturation in terms of it's only one color. If I change the saturation in terms of chroma, I'm adding grays, I'm adding white, I'm adding black to it.
It's homogeneous.
It's homogeneous, yeah, homogeneous, or whatever. Homo erectus. No, that's anthropology. You get the idea? A little bit. So I could make this darker, but by making more and more green in it, and we get darker and darker and darker, it would not be any more, the chroma would not be any higher on the dark than it is in the light. But now I'm changing the chroma. I'm changing its purity. I can come back in here.
Can you change the value by adding gray? Yeah.
Yeah, you can, but you're also, you're almost always going to change a little bit of everything when you add stuff to it, but I can add gray, I can add gray. If you look at it, this one's lighter,
Yeah.
but this one I've changed its chroma by adding more of the color, but look at it, it's going to draw almost exactly the same value.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Well, I could. It would, yes, I have to let it dry to make it absolutely, but I could do that. We could experiment around and get exactly the same value, even though we've changed the hue and the chroma. The value, I can make 17 different colors match up value exactly. Does that make sense? So you can match value, or you can match chroma, or you can match hue. We do matching chroma all the time when we do little kids.
By value, you mean like
Light and dark.
if you were to make that into like a grayscale, it would all appear the same. Like
Yes.
if you had like 6 different colors and you made a grayscale, the value would all look the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Think of, watch this. The lightest pastels can go all the way across from violet all the way to red and yellow. You can have a pastel palette where everything is so light that you barely see that it's not white. It's the palest. I'm gonna throw it out. We can't use the word pink because pink doesn't exist. It's just simply light red, light yellow. Well, unless you're gonna say now there's a word for light yellow green, light red, light blue, light red violet, the lightest red violet. They can all be very dark, they can all be very light. If you do a color chart with that, you can have the darks, and then all the middle values in the middle, but they're all pure color except for the lights that you're adding to them. Or in the case of watercolor, how thick do you make them versus how thin do you make them? Okay? Is that making some sense? You'll see pictures of this later. So with this in mind, we need to now figure out yeah, that works. It's starting to dry. It looks pretty good. Okay. So they thought they were first. You guys get to go first. Gonna pick out the one that you want? Gonna show me the one you want?
Yes.
I'm going to show you something about mixing color. And the thing I'm going to show you about mixing color is pretty simple. I had you guys get 2 reds, 2 yellows, and 2 blues, is what I suggested, correct? And there's a reason that gives us a cool red and a warm red, a cool blue and a cool yellow, that relativity of color. Can you do me the favor of getting me 2 completely clean water things? Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my color, not on my palette, but on this palette, and make that color.
The middle one.
The middle one? Yes, sir. I got you. So the first thing I need to do is if I'm going to mix color, I better make sure my brush. Don't need that one. How about this one? Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So would those be the same color but different values?
They are fairly close, generally.
Yeah, because when you look at a paint, swatch, it goes light to dark.
The middle one.
So the trick with this is very simple. I'm going to take a very traditional yellow. This happens to be a Hansa yellow medium. It's a yellow. It leans a little, ever so slightly green, but not much. And a red, it's a pyroline red. It leans a little orangey, but not much. It's close to the middle. And then what I've got over here is I've got an I've got an ultramarine blue. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is this. This is so, it's just simple. Which one of these three colors does this come closest to? Thank you. Which other one might be in this mix?
Red.
Very good. You guys are already 90% there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this blue and I'm going to take some red, mix the two. Well, I went too red. Apparently the red has a higher tinting strength. Another one of those words about color. So I need a lot more blue. Kind of violet right this minute. Red violet way over here. Let's see if we can't just put some of that over there. So, okay, now I've got a blue. It's very blue. Needs to be a little more red. Okay, so as I look at this, it's a little too purpley.
It's too much red.
A touch too much red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't get rid of some of the red in it. No, I'm just going to add some more blue. Now sometimes my color, it might not be dark enough, it might not be light enough. I'm thinking it's not quite dark enough, but I'm also looking at this. I can add a little bit of color. And when I look at that, see, it looks more like this, but I know it's going to dry when it lightens.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this and going, it's a little grayer than that, but not by much. Just a tiny little bit. Violet twist. Twinkle night.
Which one is more gray?
Well, this one, I know where you're going.
No, I don't know where I'm going.
Okay. Most of us would look at this and say, this one, I'm not saying that this one is gray, the grayest one up here. I'm saying that this is grayer, than this by a slight amount. And
well, this is not watercolor.
that's right. This has got white and this has got white stuff mixed into it.
Yeah.
But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the color that I've got and I'm going to come in and pick up just the slightest amount of yellow.
Really?
Gray it up.
To gray my color.
Oh.
And I may have gone too far, but that's okay. You use the third color to gray the color you've got. Now I've gone, I think, a touch too far. With that, all that means is I need some more blue and some a little more red. If we look at this color right here is more blue than this one. This one's too gray. If I do this one again, I can come over here and you can see that, but this one is grayer by a slight touch than this one is. And I think that's closer to this one. Now, it'll have to dry before we're going to get it as much as we want it to. Is this making sense?
Do you ever mix in a different color into the wet to try, instead of doing it on the palette, is dropping in a little red on it to try?
That's a different kind of mixing, which I like a lot. But if I'm trying to match a color precisely,
Yeah, it's too.
that's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Unless you mix it 1,700 times and you've already got the right amount of pot, and each one. Yeah, I got it. So does this make sense? Okay. You guys are going to go first in the second round. Which one did you choose?
You're a spokesperson.
Did we say the lightest?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lightest.
Is that the one over here? We're going for this one. Okay, first things first. What color over here is the closest color?
The red.
I thought so. I'm glad you guys agree with that. They're choosing. They're deciding that they have
I
the.
don't see any other color there.
What? You don't see any other color there?
Some yellow maybe?
Uh-huh. There's a lot of yellow in there. Because there's red. That ain't it. But watch this. This one, right? So,
There's no blue in it?
there it is. There is blue in it. So I'm going to get a little more water. So I'm coming here with this color. Do you agree that it, okay, I've got it, it's still too red. It's not orange enough.
See, I don't even perceive it as orange. It's
I know, it's okay.
an orange blind.
Apparently so, but that's okay. There's an awful lot of red in here, but now I've got it oranger, I think you'd agree with that. I do need a little bit of blue. Now I've gone too much blue, but notice what I'm getting close to. So I'm
It's
going,
pretty fascinating.
so I'm going to add more yellow, which I think I need.
Because you're using all three, you're graying somewhat.
Well, when you use all three, what happens when you mix every single color? If you're mixing every color of light, you get white light. If you mix every color of paint, you get dark gray or black. Because both. So by mixing something around the color wheel, you're going to mix something that's closer and closer to gray. If you mix them visually equally. Now different paints have different intensities, so you might need 3 pounds of yellow to 4 ounces of blue and a drop of red, depending on it'd be more likely to be the blue. If it's phthalocyanine blue, then you only need like an ounce to 300 pounds of the yellow. But look, I'm getting closer, but it's still a little too bright. I think it's actually a little more red and a whole lot more blue than I thought. What I'm actually doing is the yellow and the blue make a green, which is the opposite of the red. So that's sort of where I'm. Oh, I think I just got it.
No.
Hold on.
Yeah, if you let the paper show through, it definitely looks like it.
Because it's lighter.
Yeah.
I'm really close. Make sense?
So it's more what? More.
You kind of have to finish the question because I don't know where you're going with that question.
So it was red and then blue,
It's-
and then
yep.
in the end you added quite a bit more yellow. Is that?
But I had to get a lot more blue in it first to dull the oranginess of that red because it's not a pure red.
Right.
I needed it duller.
We choose the lightest.
Ooh, a green. The green. Oh, you're going to make me work. Well, we know this. Then what I need the most is red, right? No, I need yeah. I think that's closer to blue than it is closer to the yellow. So I'll start with blue. But then what I'm going to need is,
You want to change the water?
not yet. The lightest one you said?
Yeah.
Not blue enough. I had it over here, but I didn't trust my eye. So guess what? I'm going to mix that back in. It's not too far, but it's probably not blue enough, I think. But there's another thing. It's not quite blue enough. So I'm going to get a little more blue, but I know already that I need to do something else. So I'm just going to give a quick light coat of it. Yeah, okay, I think I'm in the right track. Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of red, a lot more blue, and a lot more yellow. First, I'm going there. Good. A lot more blue. So, blue and yellow to make my green. A tiny touch of red to get it grayer. I think I've got this one. Or maybe the middle one. I've really got something between these two, but I'm on the right track now that I've got to have. So what I can do is this, and then I will simply get a little lighter. Being a klutz, putting it down. Needs to be a touch greener, doesn't it? A little more yellow. Didn't expect that.
Another kind of yellow.
Doesn't matter what yellow.
Really?
No.
This is too yellow.
That's because I put too much yellow in it. It's not because it's the wrong yellow. It's too much yellow. That's all there is to it. I've got a 3-color balance here that's a balance all the way around the wheel. You choose any red, any yellow, and any blue. You just have to choose how much of each one of them you use to get the color to go.
I was going to ask if you use the other subset of 3,
Yeah,
you can still match all these colors.
you can still match, which tells you you don't have to have the magic yellow. You thought you just needed a magic yellow to get it right. And you always thought it was the blue that was making you not get it right. It's just balancing what you've got. And then being willing to experiment until you get it kind of right. Closer. Now this is what we have the hardest time with. Am I willing to set aside a sheet of paper off to the side for my critical 2 or 3 colors to mix a couple of versions until I get it sort of right?
But isn't that right to do it in this piece of equipment?
Yeah, but you can do it in a small piece of equipment just as easy.
Yeah.
It's just, I'd like to, that's just my quick, now. Got this one right. to answer the question, can you use any other color? Absolutely. Let me try this. Here is a different yellow. Can you get me a brand new clean one on that? This will be my dirty over here. Let's do this really quick. I don't know if my phone is going to have enough memory, because I have a very old phone. Actually, it's an old style phone. It's only 2 years old, but it's an Apple SE2 as opposed to an SE3. This yellow is a different yellow. It is much greener. Okay? This red is a different red. It is much more, I mean, look at the difference. This is much more of a violet red, much cooler. And this blue, it is not ultramarine blue. It is it's called cyan. It makes cerulean look pale, weak, and kind of wimpy.
So it's like an ink cartridge from a...
These are ink cartridge colors. This is television color. This is printer color. This is color that fades badly when it goes outside. But it does work. And these are not those colors that fade badly. These are art versions of those. So I'm going to try to mix that color with these three. So what I've got is I've got this yellow. I know I need yellow. And I know I need blue. How am I ever going to get there? Oh, it doesn't work. John, it doesn't work. It's not this. It's just too intense. Yeah, it's a little bit too intense. Wait a minute, John, I've got gray. Am I in the right family? It's not right yet, but you get the idea that,
It's better than this group actually.
well, it's because these are clearer, more transparent, and more intense. So sometimes it's faster. Except it's also harder to get the subtly gray stuff sometimes, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Let's see, you need a little bit more yellow, a tiny touch more red, and a lot more blue. There we go. No, that's going to be two. I don't know. It's something else. It's close. Ah, there we go. It is closer this time. It's also faster because I've been doing it now longer and trying it out. So this answers the question. Any red? Yes. Any yellow? Yes. Any blue? What? But my yellow is too orangey and my red is too orangey. Am I going to be able to get a good blue? Yes. You'll get a good violet. Now what you might not get is, as you're trying to mix colors, you can get the hue correct. The intensity may be harder to get and the value may be harder to get. You can get two of them usually. The third one is harder to mix an exact match. Because it's not because of a magic color, it's just to make it darker, I probably should put it darker. I should probably put a darker gray underneath it. That would be faster. Or I can simply keep adding the same color that works and make it duller. See, that's the thing is, but I need some more of the gray stuff. I've got more yellow and more red in it now, right here. And that might get me dull enough. Because one of the things that happens here is this creates a situation where I've got to get enough color down here so that I cover the paper enough so that it looks darker and grayer. Does that make sense? So the idea might be I just decided to cheat. But you know what all I've done right now is this? I have actually used the 2 reds, 2 blues, and 2 greens you've got. I mean, two reds, 2 blues, and 2 yellows that you guys have got on your palette already. But you don't need all of them. And the trick is, if you're trying to make an orangey red or brown, an orangey brown, take the red that's closer to the orange, not the more purpley one. Take the yellow that's closer to the orange. You'll give more intensity and you'll get there quicker. If you want a dull, but if it's a super dull orange, maybe take the 2 that are the furthest away from each other, because the further away the colors are from each other, the quicker you'll get to dull. Because they're closer to being more opposite that way. Does that make sense? So yes, that's gonna work. That's gonna work. When it's dry. I might need a little more of this, a little more of that, and then a little bit, and then maybe some of that. Now I'm really blend. But you get the idea. There are no wrong ways to do it, but I wanted to give you a way to get quickly to where you're going.
Well, gang, thanks for hanging in here till the end. We'll talk more about color when we get back next time we meet. Take care.